Hi everyone, just wanted to put another little video together just to give you some tips on some new things in Webship, some things you might not be aware of, and just a couple of other little bits and pieces. So a little bit of a disjointed video. I might just nip from here to there and show you some different things. But there's a lot of questions being asked recently. Most of it's around e-commerce integrations, but I just want to give you an idea of some of the things that you can now achieve. So a couple of things in the other settings that I found useful. Sending email notifications by default is nice. I had that question asked recently. So if you put an email address in, that will go automatically. This one's quite nice, requiring the shipper reference to be provided. So if I save that change, this goes pink. So I cannot process an order now without putting a reference in there. The reference field for some customers is quite important, and they do end up missing it. In old Webship, it was part of the kind of the flow of the booking. Because this system is designed to be an e-commerce system, the reference normally gets pulled from your eBay, your Amazons, and so on, and that's normally pre-populated. So that's something that you'll find in there that can be quite useful. There's all sorts of other things on here that you may or may not be aware of. One of the good things around recipient addresses being auto-saved. So a couple of little bits and pieces in there that are useful. There's also a content description override. So if your customer only sends out clothing, you can change that so it's always on clothing. Hopefully everyone already knows about custom package types, but if not, and maybe you're new to the business, enables you to add a box type. So I could put box A, I could put that it's always 120 by 10 by 10. I'm going to put 0 in the weight. You could put in there what the box weighs if you want to, because it could be 0.3 kilos, for example, and save it. You do have to refresh Webship to make that take place, that change. So if I refresh it and go to do a new shipment, and if I go into sending a parcel, I can now see box A is in here and it's pre-populated with the weight, and I can just add more weight to it now. Sometimes, to be honest, it's easier to leave that as 0, just put in the weight of your item, because the packaging is normally negligible to the nearest kilogram or half kilo, so it's not a massive thing. So that's another thing that's useful. I can't stress how useful DHL paperless signatures are. Really easy to do. Add signature, contact name, phone number, choose the file for the signature, so a JPEG, GIF, PNG, we'll get a copy of their signature, pop into that and save it. And then when you go to do an international shipment, you go onto here, go down to your commercial invoices, and you can go paperless, yes, and there will be a list here of the names that you've added. A couple of reasons to use paperless. First of all, there's no paper to do, obvious one. Second of all, the driver can't lose it. So we've all had urgent shipments that need to get there tomorrow, and the commercial invoice has been misplaced or not scanned properly. And unfortunately, it'll sit in East Midlands Airport until you can do something about it the following day. If you do paperless, obviously that can't happen. And also, in experience, I've found that DHL will call you if there's a noticeable error on the invoice, because it gets transmitted directly to them, and it also gets transmitted to the country of destination, that you get errors picked up quicker. So it just is better for your customer, less paperwork, more accurate, and a bit more efficient. And also your DHL drivers absolutely love you. I know that some drivers still don't quite get it. There's 2 ways to prove to the driver that it's paperless. On the actual label, the black bar in the middle of a DHL label normally has a C on it in a white writing. On a paperless, it'll say CPLT for commercial paperless transaction. Excuse me. And on the second part, on the archive doc, it'll say paperless clearance. So those are the markers and indicators for the driver, so they know. But they will love you because they don't have to then go and scan all that paperwork in. So it's much easier for them. And also, I found that speaking to customers when I've been out with other franchises, We're already with DHL, and obviously we won't be selling against them. But I always make a point of saying, "Oh, do you use paperless?" And I find that DHL just don't sell paperless at all or very well so far. So it's a really good service to use. Now, onto e-commerce integrations. So you would have all had the e-commerce best practice guide this week. Just want to show you, I've had one question already today about which ones can you do integrated quoting with. So answer to that question is Shopify, Woo and Magento, indicated by clicking on any of these and clicking on the description. You've got integrated quoting and a store integration. If it can't handle integrated quoting, it won't be there. So if you go to BigCommerce, for example, there's no integration for integrated quoting on there, so it can't be done. So that's just something that's worth knowing. Also, if you do come across a customer and they ask you for an integration that's not in the list, you can see a full list of what we do currently have on under help and in cart integration. And you can see here we've got things like CS Cart, Equid, 3D Cart, Fishbowl, Open Cart. So these are ones that we do have. We just haven't pushed them into the UK site yet because they haven't been tested in the UK. So, for example, BigCommerce and Etsy have both been tested by franchisees in the UK and then released to the network. So if you do have a customer that uses these, please let me know. We'll get the link to you. We're on our third one now. Someone's about to test Open Cart. It just allows us to then get it out to the whole network. If there's anything that you can't see on here, then we can't do it. But if it's on here, then we can. When it comes to integrated quoting, somebody asked me a question yesterday about integrated quoting. Let me just refresh this because this happens now and again, unfortunately. So you can add markup to integrated quoting. So if a customer wants to use integrated quoting, they want their website to see a price live from Webship, then they can. So integrated quoting allows them to display a price that shows the customer how much the goods actually will cost, and that is using a real-time API hookup to Webship. So you could be you could be a customer buying something from a UK store. You could throw in your zip code 90210 or whatever it might be, and it will come back with the price. And that price can then have a markup attached to it. So it can either be a flat rate, as in pounds figure, or it can be a percentage. So I could say 10% on here, and I would want to say, right, Webship's returned £20, add 10%, the customer will see £22. Now, with integrated quoting, on the customer's website, so our customer, their website will have the shopping cart and it will have the ability to put the zip code in. From experience, I've seen some people integrate it and they've just integrated everything. So you'll see UPS by 9, UPS by 12, DHL by 12. That's really confusing and not helpful for your customer. So what the customer can do, if they're doing integrated quoting, is they can add it so it makes sense. So I can call it whatever I like. So I could say, I want my website to show UK next day. And then I could select, I want that to be UK mail. I can't do UK mail on this account because I haven't got an account for it. So I put domestic for DHL, for example. So I do DHL domestic, say, for UK next day. Save the changes. Then I could say, I want to do Global Express. That's what I want to call it. And the service type for that could be FedEx International Priority. And then I want to say Global Economy. And then I might say I want to use TNT International Economy. So my customer sees this, so they don't have to get confused. I know it's mapped to the right carrier with the right service at a markup that works for the customer. Just means that the customer doesn't get confused. You can map it in the background. So it's a really, really helpful thing to do. Asked about API a lot. So if your customer has not got one of these integrations and they want to integrate with Webship and they have a custom built or a platform we don't support, then they can use the API. Now, the terminology is confusing because technically they're all APIs. But the eBay, the Magento, the Woo, they are predetermined APIs that are updated regularly on a predetermined set of rules. The API key is basically the magic token that we give to the customer, allowing them access for their website to Webship, but they need to make it do what they want it to. So from your point of view, you would give the customer this API key and their customer number, and then they would go onto the documentation and they would do it themselves. So they would write the code. So I mean, if we look at the API here, it will give us all this code stuff. Now, I don't know what any of this means. I'm not a programmer, but the customer will know what it means if they've got the ability to do so. So be very clear with your customer. You will give them the details, and if there's errors on our side, we will look at fixing it. But they need to be able to write the code or have someone do it for them, and to be able to program it to do what they want it to do. So they can do the same things. They can do the webhook where they can do the push the orders in, get the tracking numbers back. They can do the weights and dims. All that stuff can still be done. It'll be done on the way that they want to code it. So they'll be able to make it probably do more than what the integrations currently do, as long as they know what they want to do. So it's quite a powerful way of doing it, but the customer has to be able to do it themselves. Also, another thing to note is when you use the API, you don't get a free trial, so they have to go straight onto a subscription to make it work. So it's not like with Shopify, you can do 10 free labels. This is straight into a paid subscription. So you might need to swallow 20 quid for the first month just to allow them to play with it and get it up and running. But if someone's going to take the time and the effort to do the API, then I think that means that they're serious about working with you, and £20 is probably not going to be the end of the world. And another thing that's new is rules. So rules are really, really helpful. So if I click on Create New Rule, I can now tell Webship that I want it to do specific things. So this has been put into Webship by Chris because he spent some time looking at other people's websites and what they do. So great use of a rule. So if you have domestic, shipment, international. Now, if you've got an integration, it'll show on here. So let's imagine there's an eBay integration attached to this. I would do domestic, and then I would select eBay, and I would select shipping service. Maybe it'll come up next day. So eBay will have all the services that are selected, programmed by the customer will show in here. So what I could do is I could say any domestic eBay shipment that shows as a next day or whatever the customer calls it, between a weight of 0 and 31 kilos. I want the action to be select service type, DHL domestic, for example, and then select action type. Package type would be box A. I save that, and then every time I bring anything in, it will look at it and say, right, it's a domestic, it's come from eBay integration, showing as next day, it's between 0 and 31. I'm going to send it as a DHL domestic box A. It will do that for you, so the customer only needs to click on ship. So that's going to reduce a lot of time and effort for you. Another thing that I can't demonstrate on this particular account, but you'll be able to do it for yourselves, is on a UK Mail high volume account. If you go into there now, as soon as you've watched this video, if you haven't already noticed, for high volume and super high volume, you do not need to put dimensions in anymore. So they are no longer a pink field. So you'll be able to go in, put an address in, put a weight in, and it will let you quote and ship immediately. This is something people have been asking for a long time. And in our opinion now, because that's in there, there's no reason for you to need to use icon sign anymore, because that was the thing that most people wanted, was not to have to put dims in. So if we can start migrating those customers from iConsign back over to our software. We're not selling UK Mail software, we're selling ours. We want customers using ours. We don't want them shifting between two bits of software to do a DHL and a UK Mail. So you all know you've got customers with iConsign. If that was the thing that was stopping you, it's no longer there. You can just go ahead and book it. Obviously, just make your customers aware it's exactly the same as it always was. If they do have a big box, I would advise that they put DIMs in for that, just to make sure of out of gauge fees and things like that. But your normal boxes that are under your 31 kg DIM weight, I'm not going to cause you a problem anymore. You'll be able to do that straight away. So that's basically a quick overview of some of the new stuff in Webship. There are some changes to batch, and I will show that on the upcoming e-commerce integration courses when we do some live demonstrations. When we do an e-commerce masterclass, you'll see all that in action. If there's anything else in particular that you need to know or want to see, then let me know. The next video I'm going to do is how to install a Zebra printer to Webship, because I know that that is not as easy as it sounds. It is a 5-minute job if you know what you're doing, and I'll do a video on that this week as well. Thanks for watching, and I hope that was useful.